I've got two words, only two words. Be shameless. That's it. Be shameless. This, to me, is one of the most important characteristics for anybody who aspires to become really good. Newton said, I see the farthest because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, he said. Every one of us is where we are because we have been standing on shoulders of giants. Ahmed, I'll tell you this honestly. I work with people who walk with pride and they would do things and they wouldn't ask for feedback. They wouldn't ask for somebody to review. They would, they would assume what they have done is awesome. And to me, feeling great is one of the best ways to become worst, because that pride really blinds us from how we can improve. One of the things I've benefited from a lot is to surround myself with whom I call as friends who are smarter than me. To be able to walk up to Dave Thomas, the pragmatic programmer, to be able to walk up to Neil Ford or Mark Richards or any one of these other people and say, I've got this idea. I want you to look at it. I've written this chapter. I want you to review this. I've written this code. I want you to critique it. And for them to come back and say how it can be improved is genuinely a very humbling experience, but a very rewarding experience, because I am good, but they help me to get better every day. So my recommendation is be shameless. Don't hold pride that is unnecessary. Instead, go to a colleague and say, hey, I've written this, but I want to ask your opinion. What are your thoughts? If you were to be doing this, what would you do? What would you do different? When you ask for feedback, here's the beauty. You don't have to use it, but you have gotten different perspectives and you can decide which one of them to apply and how to apply it. But in doing so, you're elevating yourselves from where you are to the next level of thinking. So to me, one of my biggest strengths, if I may say, is not that I'm good. No, I'm not. It is because I'm absolutely shameless. I like to go to people and say, critique this for me. Tell me how to improve this. I'm not going to follow everything you say, but I want to learn from what your thought process is. So my recommendation is mingle with people who have different opinions, different ideas, different perspectives, and be shameless to show what you're doing and get their feedback. That is one of the best ways to elevate yourselves, not only in your career, but in your thinking as well. And that's got a really big impact. So that would be my recommendation. Be shameless.
My advice really for anyone is don't constrain yourself by some label. Don't say like I'm a DevOps person or I'm a platform person. Say I fix problems. I solve problems. And then go find a problem that you want to solve or in the organization that you're sponsored by, fix problems. So this I think also relates back to the conversation about language. So my Arabic is like a toddler, but I aspire to be better. And I had a teacher, and I asked, what do I need to do to be fluent in Arabic? And they said that's the wrong way to think about it. You're not even fluent in English. There are conversations you can have because you have a vocabulary and you have an understanding, and there's conversations that you can't have. So what you should be thinking about are the conversations that you want to have, the conversations that you need to have. And in the context of this question, that's the advice I give you is find a problem that you want to solve, that you're so obsessed with solving, and then figure out what you need to do to solve that. Whatever technology, don't limit yourself by labels, don't limit yourself by vocabulary. Go fix that problem. And the skills that you will get And the vocabulary that you'll get from solving that problem by being aware of what it took to solve that problem will open up new doors for you. And those problems, we're not going to run out of problems anytime soon. There's no shortage of problems, either in technology or the technology can help address. So just find an opportunity to do something that's valuable to you. Find the intersection of the things that you're interested in and they're interested for the organization. And don't limit yourself by, I'm going to do this thing. And I already used the martial arts analogy, so I'll use one of the teachers that I had. He said, don't ever tell someone, oh, I only fight this way, or that's the wrong punch. Like you just have to go fight. When it's a real fight, you can't be, oh, that's not agile, or that's not DevOps, or that's not this thing that I want to make this label about. The punch that hits you is never wrong. So you just have to respond in the moment. The advice that I give you today, November 25th, that might be wrong for the world that you're about to move into. So don't get constrained by what advice someone gives you. They're an expert. You have your own knowledge, you have your own understanding, and you should look to apply that and look to expand that, and you're going to be fine. And believe you can. That's another thing, that if you believe you can't, you're right. So you should believe you can.
Don't be over-impressed by the power tools, right? Power tools are going to be cool. These AIs, they're going to be cool. All the nifty languages, all the great IDEs. We've got power tools. Don't be over-impressed by those. Don't be so impressed that you forget the basics. Learn the basics. Learn C. Do a little programming in C. You don't have to do a lot, just a little. Find an assembly language. Do a little assembly language programming, just a little bit. Learn the basics. Go back and read some of the early books. Some of the books by Tom DeMarco or Ed Jordan, guys who were at the beginning or the second stage after the beginning, when the industry really started taking off. Read those books. Read the book Structured Programming. Get an idea of what those guys were talking about. Read from the past and read today and read the things going into the future. But don't look at the now moment and think, this is everything. Everything on Instagram, everything on X. Go back and look at some of the stuff that was done years before, because there's a ton of wisdom back there. Learn many languages, do a lot of reading, play at home. I know you go to work and you've got to work 40 hours or whatever, and you come home, and then at home you should play. And obviously you can't, you've got a limited amount of time, but you should take a little bit of time, 2 or 3 hours on a weekend or something like that. Play with the code, play with different languages, play with different projects. Have your own little project that you're working on in the basement. These things are really important. The work you do at work is good, but the play will make you a much better programmer over the years. So there's a little bit of advice for programmers in general. And be very careful with the power tools, especially the AIs, because you over rely on them and you're going to get burned. Take it just like any power tool, right? Rev that saw up. You can cut a lot of wood. Might not cut it in the right way, though.
I'll suggest one thing for starters, and I wish they taught this in university. Work in small steps. Okay, so I've got a brief story about this. If I'm bringing up a new web page on my website, Ruby on Rails, first time I did it, I didn't know anything about it. So I read the manual, batch mode, wrote all the code, tried to run it. No, didn't work. Debug, read some more, still didn't work. After a whole day, I managed to get it to work. And then the next day I got to spend chasing down all the things I shouldn't have changed on my way to making that one thing work. Now I can do that same activity in about a minute because of small steps and cause and effect. If I try to and so you can take the small steps and cause and effect to any problem. That I use it when I change a light switch in my house. What happens if I don't do anything? Well, the light switch doesn't work. Okay, the web page doesn't come up. I get a 404 error. Go to the right place to make the next thing that you'll be able to see a visible response to. That's add the route to my system. Now I get controllers missing. Then I add the controller. Controller methods missing. Then I add the controller method. View is missing. Then I add the view. Hello world. Now I've got the path through the thing, and small steps kept me from having to fix it later. I've got this saying I like to use. It's easier to keep the system working than to fix it after you break it. And so small steps embodied with that perspective, I would say that. Now that could lead you to TDD. I ended up there from learning TDD back to that to see that's the underpinning of TDD, cause and effect and small steps. So learn that, if anything. Then you can learn it through TDD too. Be happy to teach you.
I think there are two big areas that I would recommend people think about. The first is, and this is going to sound like, eat your vegetables. It really is important for developers to understand the underlying concepts, the underlying principles. Increasingly, it's becoming possible to write code without knowing how a computer works, and I mean, I'm shocked by the number of developers who actually have a hard time explaining the difference between memory and storage, who probably couldn't tell you, how a computer actually works. And that's not just like some kind of abstract knowledge. It is actually important because it makes a change to the way you write code. You need to learn the structure behind what you're doing. You need to learn how the components all fit together. And the only way of doing that is to grovel around in the mud, is to actually start, is to write code, and to write code down at low levels. I think AI is a phenomenal tool. It is an amplifier of what you can do. If you are a good developer, then AI helps you become a way more productive, good developer. But if you're a bad developer, then AI just helps you write bad code more quickly. And that is a failing that I'm seeing all over the place. So I think number one rule would be you can't just rely on something like AI. You need to understand what it's doing. That's number one. Number two is there is a big fear in software development that if you don't keep up, then you'll be left behind and you won't have a job. And to some extent, that's probably true. But it has this really bad side effect that people are constantly on the search for the latest, brand new, bright, shiny thing. And, we'll switch from this to that at the drop of a hat just because we don't want to get left behind. And there's this fear of missing out that, oh, maybe I should switch to using Vue, If you really want to be happy, then plan for those big changes. Don't just do it because you read an interesting article about it, right? Plan, say to yourself, okay, I'm going to commit to getting good at whatever it might be, Rails or React or whatever it might be. And I'm going to spend at least a year getting better at it. Because it's going to take a while to actually understand. It's going to take a while to build up that muscle memory we talked about. And during that time, I am not going to let myself get distracted by somebody on Twitter saying, oh, that's bad, you should do this instead. Right? I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to build my own ideas. Because if nothing else, that's going to change over the course of the year 5 or 6 times, right? The fashion is going to change that often. So just sit down and do what you're doing and get good at it. And at the end of that time, you'll have the experience and knowledge to know what's wrong with the thing that you're doing. And at that point, you can start looking for alternatives and decide whether or not they'll be worthwhile taking or not, right? So I would say, yeah, you've got to keep up to date, but you don't have to keep up to date every minute, right? Once a year or once every 2 years is perfectly good. And you will find yourself being way more productive. You'll find yourself being a lot happier because you're not constantly fighting an environment. And you will find yourself probably more up to date than the people who are constantly changing the whole time.